And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of Outdoor Journal Radio.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again. Well, actually, not joining us, as you can see by the look of this picture. I am Sans, my co-host.
Oh,
Mr.
my.
Yes, Mr. Bowman is taking a day off school today. He called in sick. No, he did not. He's fishing, actually, somewhere, I'm sure. He doesn't do days off without going on the water. But wonderful program without him, but we do miss him already. But we will go on. As tough as it's going to be, we will soldier on without Mr. Bowman. Believe it or not.
Come on now.
That's right. Because I got Dean the dancing machine.
Give me a hell yeah.
Yeah, baby. Welcome to the show. We've got a wonderful program as per usual. Later on in the show, we'll be joined by one person that you're familiar with. Another one has been on the show before. Together, they're going to team up and give us a brand new podcast. And man, is it exciting. Jamie Pistilli, who was with the Tackle Box podcast, which is no longer, has teamed up with Ridr Knowlton, who was a guest on this show, right, Dean?
Yep, he was. I think like 10 episodes ago.
10 episodes ago. And wow, what a package they are going to give us for podcasting. I am so pumped and excited to talk to these guys. They'll be joining us a little bit later on. But first, let's get through what we need to get through, and that is business. We need to take care of business. I want to remind everybody that the contest on fishingcanada.com will not get won on its own. Somebody has to go and win each and every one of those prizes. It might as well be you. And all you have to do is go to fishingcanada.com. I know you probably don't have that set up behind me because I'm going way out of...
That's off script, yeah.
Yeah, that's off script. I just want to throw it out there. I felt compelled, Dean.
It's a good day because actually this will be after people hear it, but we're giving away a live scope today.
No.
Yeah. It's today we're doing that draw.
How many of those have we given away? Do you have any idea?
I think this will be our fourth.
Wow.
That's like, what, $20,000 worth of fish finders?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Free.
Yeah, for free.
My God. What a country. No wonder I want to live here. Let's be honest about it. While you go searching out your ballots for the contest, make sure you stop in at the fishingcanada.com store, the shop. You see the wonderful merch behind me. This is all brand new. This is somebody took license with our logo and kind of made some alterations. Not officially changing the Fishing Canada logo. God forbid, nobody would ever do that. But just sort of as a little add-on. And man, they are flying out of here. We've got what do we got? Walleye, bass,
And muskie.
Yep. And more to come. So. Go to fishingcanada.com, check it all out. All the merch is there. The new summer stuff is either on its way or it's already in. Some great deals. As usual, free shipping on more than $100. You spend more than $100 and you get stuff shipped free. And while you're there, if you go through the front door, not the back door, fishingcanada.com, the portal, the gateway to your next fishing adventure,
come on now,
awaits you. You can spend days on this thing. I was, by the way, Dean, I went on a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I was looking for something, and I got way sidetracked. An hour and a half later, I said, "What am I doing? I got to get out of here."
Yep.
So it's very dangerous.
It is. It's a dangerous place. We should put like a warning up there when you get there.
It's probably not a bad idea. Now, I have to be honest with you,
okay,
and I don't want to be negative, but.
Okay.
I was a little overwhelmed in parts of my search by the ads.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I have to be very honest with you. In fact, I got a call a few days ago from an old buddy of mine, Randy Dykeman.
Okay.
Haven't seen Randy. I'll bet you I haven't seen Randy in, 15 years, maybe even more. He called me out of the blue, not to say hello to me, not to, ask how I was doing, and none of the above. He called me to say, what is going on that website?
Yeah.
I mean, there's ads everywhere,
Yeah. We had a bit of an issue. It always seems to happen over the weekend too. But we had 2 days where something happened with the ad server where they were just absolutely everywhere. So it's been addressed, but it was there for about 2 days.
So this is just me thinking. This is just me.
Yeah.
take me, for example.
Yeah.
If I want an ad-free experience when I go online, and I do have some of these, right? And there's an opportunity for me to sign up for an ad-free experience, either at a cost, or I have to create an account, or I have to do a little extra work. I do it. I do it. Is there a possibility that maybe something like that can be done moving forward? I mean, have you thought about maybe having an ad-free environment for some kind of minor charge?
Yep.
You know, a token amount to cover the expense, number one, of setting that up. But most importantly, folks, you have to understand, this is a business, right? So we need income. Dean needs to get paid every Friday, right? So, and so we need to have an income for that. And if you cut the ads out or back, sometimes it doesn't work out. There's more costs than there is income. So if maybe the thought should be, if somebody wants an ad-free environment, like myself, for example, maybe I'm willing to pay something for it. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, we floated that around last year when we started the ads that we have now. We kind of need, if people are interested in something like that, it would help to send some emails in so we know that there is interest for it, because we have the ability to do it. It's just a matter of building it. So if you want something like that, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, everything's got a cost. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
But anyways, other than that, I just wanted to say it was wonderful, great experience. I don't get on there often enough, as much as I should, but I did spend a considerable amount of time that I didn't have, by the way. And it's wonderful, man. It is so rich in content and anything you want to know. And I mean, I would defy you to go on fishingcanada.com and have a fishing question or curious about some aspect of angling that cannot be satisfied on fishingcanada.com. I would doubt that very much. It's there. Like I said, it's so deep in information. It's unbelievable. There you go. Good? Did I do good, Dean?
That was great.
Come on now.
Thank you. All right, let's get to listener feedback, because we got an exciting show. By the way, this show, we mentioned we've got Jamie and Ridr coming up. Both of them are well-versed in the guiding world, fish guiding and hunt guiding. And of course, you've done some guiding yourself, Dino.
I guided before I was here, yeah.
Right. So these are kindred spirits that you'll be able to share with them.
That's right.
You've got some interesting guiding stories. One of the things and you and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
Guiding to me is a misunderstood profession, in my opinion. Somebody somewhere along the line said, a guide is somebody that knows how to fish and knows how to operate a boat. If you know how to fish and you know how to operate a boat, sign up right here on the bottom of the document, because I'm going to make you a guide.
It's funny, actually, because when you apply to most lodges, I don't even think I was asked that.
Is that right?
I think they were like, well, he applied, so...
That's it.
Yeah.
He must be good.
Yeah.
Because to me, a guide is anything but that. As odd as that may sound. Yes, obviously, the guide has to be able to run a boat for obvious reasons. But a guide to me is so much more, and we're going to talk about that later on with the boys when they come on. But a guide should never fish, for example. What in the world is a guide doing out on a boat fishing?
Yeah. You learn that pretty quick. Well, some guides do. I learned, I think, my third trip out, because I had the philosophy when I started that, okay, I'm not going to touch a rod. The trip isn't for me. It's for the clients, all that stuff. But what you get sometimes is once the clients get to know you, they want to enjoy the experience with you, or at least they think they do. And then, so I had one trip where that happened. They were like, they wanted me to join in. We were having a good day, and I was like, no, like, we haven't got the big one yet. We haven't got it. And they were like, no, we don't care. Like, even if you catch it, it's not a big deal. And I dropped down and hooked a walleye immediately that I knew, like, oh no. And it ended up being 31 inches, and the boat was just quiet for the rest of the afternoon.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't know what they paid for that experience, but you just ripped them off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because think of if one of them had hooked into that fish.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the stories that would have been told, passed down generation after generation about
And
this?
it was right there where all of them were. And I learned the hard way, unfortunately. If you're like a new guy, just don't even attempt it. It's never worth it. No matter how much they think they want you to do it.
No.
It's a trip ruiner.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it pisses me off when I see that. And it happens a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It happens a ton.
Except the weird part is it seems to happen intentionally with a lot of guides, which is the harder part to understand.
Well, intentionally because... And listen, by the way, any guides listening to this, don't take this as we're coming down on you. Believe me, trust me. But these are stories. This has to be told because I think it's important. You waste the opportunity, in my opinion. You waste the opportunity to do your job the minute you pick up a rod as a guide. That opportunity is the opportunity to number one, bond with this client, because that's important. That's super important when you're out guiding. But more importantly, to teach and help and nurture and shepherd. And we could use all these wonderful words because that's what a guide is supposed to be doing. Telling stories, sharing personal experiences, talking about nature, trying to put together a puzzle on how to catch fish so that when this person, after this wonderful experience with you, the guide, goes away, they are taking something. They're bringing something back with them. And that is the wonderful experience they had with this person that they never met before. They just met him for the first time, today. But if you're fishing, you're not giving them the opportunity to take that home, right? In most cases, they're seeing your back hooking into fish. Yeah. Saying, "Oh, there's another one. Yeah, I told you they were here, Bill. Yeah, they're all over here, man. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah." It sickens me when I see that. It sickens me. But anyways,
I totally agree.
We'll talk about that at length with the boys for sure. Listener feedback from Gloomy Bear Ben. I love that. Gloomy Bear Ben via Apple Podcast. How do folks get that to us, by the way?
They leave reviews.
They leave reviews.
You have to leave a review, yeah.
And that's why it's on podcast, because I don't think Spotify does that.
No, Spotify, you can leave like a star, but you can't leave an actual, like a write-up.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Gloomy Bear Ben via Apple Podcast. He says, and I don't quite understand this, so maybe you guys could help me out for sure. Awesome podcast, reminds me of home.
Yeah, I kind of wish he specified a little bit on why, but I did do some looking, and I think he wrote this review from the States.
Okay.
So I think that's why.
So he's
abroad.
Expatriate.
Yeah.
South of the border.
Yeah.
Listens to the podcast. Reminds me of home. I have a similar story. The old Outdoor Journal radio program that we had for years on Rogers Sportsnet. We used to periodically ask our listeners to tell us where the weirdest place was that they've listened to the show. And I remember, we had a contest this one time, and I remember this one contester wrote in. He says, the weirdest place, it's not really weird, but I was sent overseas for work purposes, and the only thing that kept me connected with Canada was the Outdoor Journal radio show, but I had to be in a certain place in order to listen. Now, remember, we were on at 8 o'clock Saturday mornings, 8 to 10. He was in Singapore or one of those countries, Pacific countries. Anyways, he had to go outside and sit on a park bench facing a certain direction, and he could get a faint connection with Rogers and listen to our podcast. And he said too that it connected him to being home. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that use these programs, not just radio, but podcasts, television. Our Fishing Canada program still does and always did air abroad when our soldiers are either in a conflict or patrolling, like during the Afghanistan thing years ago. We were, thankfully to global, we were put into all of those countries at the Canadian military camps.
Yep.
And so a lot of the guys have written in the past saying that we helped them through those tough times because that was the one stable in their life. The one thing that they could count on was Saturday mornings they could watch the Fish in Canada show.
Yeah,
and,
that's cool.
It's gut-wrenching when they tell you the stories about that.
Oh, I bet.
But anyways, I want to thank Gloomy Bear Ben for giving us the thumbs up on the show. Podcast network highlights. We do those regularly, Dean, on the site. How do we?
Yeah, we put them everywhere in our newsletters, on the website, on social media. We put our podcast network. There's something going on every day, so we're always highlighting something. And
this one is about the folks at Ugly Pike. Frank and Chris, Ugly Pike podcast, episode 175 and 176. Boy, they're getting some numbers up there, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's getting up there.
Their guests are Steve and Danny Herbeck, who are renowned. If you're up in the Eagle Lake district of this world, you know those names for sure. They are some of the best guides, the two of them best guides on that body of water, which is obviously a musky hotbed. And they did 2 shows with the Ugly Pike podcast and shared their secrets, which was kind of surprising. But I guess the fact that they're, on Eagle Lake, they felt kind of safe and comfortable.
I think the musky guys are a little... They almost seem open to giving away like techniques and stuff because it's not a guarantee.
It's so hard, right? I saw the biggest muskie of Pete and I, biggest muskie of our lives was on Eagle Lake, and we saw this fish 3 times on 3 consecutive days, and it was just, to say it was breathtaking is such an understatement because we had some really strange conditions, perfectly flat, calm, not a ripple of water or wind anywhere. It was like a mill pond. And we're on this big mid-lake shoal, a hump, underwater island. And we had caught, previous trips, we had caught fish in this area, all around it, actually. But on this one trip, we saw this mammoth fish, without exaggerating. Well, for sure, it was between 50 and 60 somewhere. It's hard to gauge when you're in a boat, right? But because we had such flat water and because the fish stayed with us for such a long period of time, we got a pretty good indication. And Pete and I are both pretty good at assessing sizes of fish. It was between 50 and 60 somewhere.
Wow.
But what was amazing about this fish was the girth. It was like a crocodile in girth, right? And 3 times we saw it. It came up, sat with us. We telepathically communicated, and it looked at us, and then for no reason, it would just go away. And then the next day, later on, so we saw it first in the afternoon. Then on the second day, we saw it late in the day, almost sundown. Still had enough sun to see it. And then the third day, we saw it first thing in the morning, all in the same area, would not take any of our baits. Almost like it was just coming up to say hello.
Or it wanted to spawn with the boat or something if it was that big.
Well, maybe, I don't know. But it was like, we were kind of there. Obviously the cast we were using big blades. So obviously the vibration got its attention. And it would just kind of come up from the dark deep, and it's crystal clear water. It was like tap water, and it would just kind of come up, and wouldn't even. Sometimes when that happened, you say, "Oh, you almost got it. Did you see it?" No, this was not the case. This fish was totally not interested in our bait, but we got its attention, and 3 times it came up from the dark shadows of the drop off. It just kind of lingered about 15, 20 feet away from the boat. But it was such flat, calm water, we could see the the scales on this thing is incredible. What a great experience, Eagle Lake. And these two boys, Steve and Danny Herbeck, you need to definitely go to Ugly Pike podcast episode 175 and 176. They are the main dudes on that lake. And some of the things that they talk about in those two podcasts, yeah, you need, if you're into muskie fishing, you need to definitely go catch that for sure. In the news, my friend, this is an interesting story, is it not? Is it interesting or is it absurd?
It's a strange one. It's very weird.
So a man allegedly, allegedly because I guess at the time that we got this, there were obviously criminal charges pending, but the case had not been brought to court yet, right?
Right.
So that's why allegedly, but there's no confusion. This happened.
He pleaded guilty, I believe.
He pleaded guilty,
yeah.
right. So a man allegedly pours bleach. This is on fishingcanada.com,
yep.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Yep.
A man allegedly pours bleach into Oregon hatchery tank and kills 18,000 smolts, salmon. 18,000. Walks in, I'm assuming breaks in, had to break in, obviously. He didn't do it during hours, regular business hours, or somebody would have stopped him. So he must have broke into the hatchery, and I could, I have pictures of this guy, with a couple of jugs of Javax, and walks in there and dumps it and into the tanks and kills 18,000 salmon. Wow. Anyways, I'd love to have this guy on the show, by the way.
Yeah, I would love to find out the motivation, because I don't, is it like one of those weird climate protests, or what is he up to?
But killing 18,000 fish, regardless of what the protest is, whether you're pro or anti-fishing, whether you're anti-commercial fishing, whether you're a vegan, even. No disrespect, Boa. I can't imagine what would motivate a person to knowingly go in and kill 18,000 of anything.
Yeah.
But anyways, his name is Joshua Alexander Heckathorn, 20 years of age. There's one, obviously, not that there's anything wrong with 20-year-olds, but honestly, I have a few in my family. And I got to tell you, some days you wonder what's going on upstairs, because it's not quite clear. All right. So obviously this 20-year-old had one of those moments that people have at that age. But anyways, he was arrested and booked into jail for second-degree burglary. Second-degree burglary, which means that the place was not locked. It was open. What's second-degree burglary?
I don't know. This would be a Nick question, because he was in law. He was in law.
Yeah.
I don't know the details. Isn't it like it's not planned? I thought that was what second degree was. Like a first degree is like you plan to do it.
Okay.
Maybe he bought bleach at the store. He tripped.
How the hell is it not planned when you got Javax under your arms, boys?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's planned, so that can't be it. So anyways, as well, you got charged with criminal trespass and criminal mischief. And what he did, he broke into the Winchester Bay Salmon Trout Enhancement Program and poured bleach into Chinook salmon tanks, killing, like I said, 18,000. The maximum penalty, apparently, for poaching Chinook. Now, I'm assuming they're calling this poaching. Why? Why would they call this poaching?
I think because the fish were not being raised for commercial purposes. They were being raised by the DNR, I guess, down there, to be released into the river. So they're wild technically, or they're soon to be wild, maybe. I'm thinking.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's something that I'd like to get more on this story.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd like to get this kid on the show.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to talk to this kid and find out what is going on in that head at the time that this happened. Anyways, these are Chinook salmon, a species that is protected under the Endangered Species Act in that area. And that would bring with it a penalty, a fine of $750 per fish. Maybe that's why they're calling it poaching. Maybe they're trying to bring the poaching regulations into effect, because I'm sure that there is no rule on the books or law on the books about bleaching a hatchery salmon.
Yeah.
So I think what they're trying to do here, they got to make sense of it somehow. So they're just calling it poaching, because there is a fine of $750 for poachers that have, if they're caught, have to pay $750 per fish.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. What's the total? That's $14 million?
$14 million what it comes to. Which you never see for poaching charges. So I can't imagine that that's what he actually pays, because people end up paying like a couple $100 for this stuff normally, it seems.
You know, there's another side to this story that I don't think is really talked about anywhere, and that is, I mean, it's a tragedy for the people who give their heart and soul to this conservation program. You know, because I know a lot of folks that work in these small little clubs, mostly in rural parts of the country, and they dedicate their lives to running these hatcheries, because it's a thankless job. They don't get paid for it. It's all volunteer, right? And so there's a whole process from when they get the fish, if they get fish, or whether they raise them from the egg stage. But there's a whole process that these volunteers go through, bringing them up to the size, you know, release size, smolts generally. And I can't even imagine the devastation that this would have caused those folks who worked at this hatchery, raising and rearing these fish, to find out that somebody had gone in and killed them all. Like they take it very personally. They have a connection with these fish. And I don't think there's enough said about that. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. Crazy. Anyways, these were 3 and 4 inch long salmon. And they were going to be released in June into the lower Umpqua River, and would eventually made their way to Alaska. And eventually, I mean, 18,000, I don't even know what the math would be, but they probably have some numbers of what this 18,000 would have produced in time had they gone, you know, the full cycle of coming back and spawning and all that stuff. Wow. What do you think they're going to do to this kid?
If you take the history of what they do to poachers and people who kill fish normally, probably nothing.
Ugh.
Probably and you can't take away, he probably doesn't have a license to take away. Like that's what they fall back on all the time. Just, we'll remove the license, we'll take your boat for a year or whatever, and don't do it again.
Like, I can't even, I'm trying to think of what possible motivation would there be in killing 18,000 baby fish. And I don't want to say that I could think of reasons why a person would kill another person, but it would be easier for me to try and understand. You know, there's obviously a conflict between the two, or there was, you know, something. But 18,000 smolts in a hatchery, like, come on, like, what is that all about? That just blows my mind. Anyways, we should stay on top of this.
Yeah,
this is going to be a good story to follow.
Yeah.
Fan question, and that's all, by the way, available right now. If you want to get more detail, we're just giving you the Reader's Digest version of it, but it's all available at fishingcanada.com as we speak.
Come on now.
Fan question by Kevin Bryant from Ontario via email submits. Anybody can do this, by the way, I'm told. You can submit your question to info@fishingcanada.com, or you can go on Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you find our logo. Communicate with us and tell us what's on your mind. Kevin Bryant from Ontario says, when will we see a roundtable with all of the podcasters together? Whoa. Great question. One of the problems I think we'd have is now the family is growing. Some of us are growing quicker than others, but the family is quite large. In fact, we're going to talk to a couple of guys here in a minute that are joining us. Wow, I'd love to do it immediately, but Dean, I have to defer to you.
Yeah, the Sportsman Show would have been the place to give it a shot. The problem is it mostly becomes technical. Like not all of our podcasters are here where our studio is, and then that table's only so big, and Volvo would have to figure out some camera work. It it would take some effort. I think the best place to do it would be at like an event. Like if we rented like a bar or like a Lions Club or something like that and made it like an event. I think that would be the best way to do it, to get everyone in one place.
Wow. That's a great idea, actually. You mention it. Yeah, I don't think there's no reality in thinking that we could bring it all in here.
And it'd be messy. That many people with opinions and...
Well, not only that, but how about from a technical standpoint even? Mics, cameras.
Yeah, that's where it gets tough.
I'd love to do it, though. I think it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, I think it'd be outstanding. Well, we'll look into it. Kevin, thank you for bringing that up. Now that you mentioned it, we will look into it and see if we can make it happen. The humble goldfish, everyone's favorite aquatic pet. It's small, easy to care for. What's there not to love?
Even the cat may be mesmerized by the color and movements of your aquarium friends. Goldfish are great at home, but don't let them loose.
Releasing goldfish or other domestic aquatic pets or plants into natural environments is harmful to both your pet and the planet.
Goldfish disrupt ecosystems by outcompeting native species for food and resources in degraded habitats. They contribute to algae blooms, they kill aquatic wildlife, and pass viruses and diseases contracted in aquariums to wild fish.
They could even live up to 40 years and grow as big as a football. Anglers, this is where you come in. If you find a goldfish at your local fishing spot, report it to the Invading Species Hotline or go online to eddmaps.com.
Remember to never dump your live bait into the water and risk spreading other aquatic invaders. Keep our lakes free from invaders and don't let them loose.
As the world gets louder and louder, the lessons of our natural world become harder and harder to hear, but they are still available to those who know where to listen. I'm Jerry Ouellette, and I was honored to serve as Ontario's Minister of Natural Resources. However, my journey into the woods didn't come from politics. Rather, it came from my time in the bush and a mushroom. In 2015, I was introduced to the birch-hungry fungus known as chaga, a tree conch, with centuries of medicinal use by Indigenous peoples all over the globe. After nearly a decade of harvest, use, testimonials, and research, my skepticism has faded to obsession, and I now spend my life dedicated to improving the lives of others through natural means. But that's not what the show's about. My pursuit of this strange mushroom and my passion for the outdoors has brought me to the places and around the people that are shaped by our natural world. On Outdoor Journal Radio's Under the Canopy podcast, I'm going to take you along with me to see the places and meet the people that will help you find your outdoor passion and help you live a life close to nature and under the canopy. Find Under the Canopy now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
Alrighty, as promised at the beginning of the show, we have an ending and a beginning to talk about with you today. One of our podcasters, Jamie Pistilli, was co-host of the Tackle Box, as we mentioned earlier on, and he's going to give us the full story, but it's kind of been put aside, and a new product has emerged. And he has a new co-host, Ridr Knowlton. I believe we've talked about him on the show before, but now he's going to be co-hosting with Jamie a brand new program. Ridr is an author. The book is called The Guides, a collection of untamed stories. He's done a ton of travels all around the world, both fishing and hunting, that he'll share with the audiences, and hopefully he'll share some of that with us today. An accomplished writer and outdoor photographer, among other things. I understand he's a scholar and a judge of fine wines to boot. Welcome to the program, both you guys. How you doing?
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks so much for having us, Ange.
This is long overdue, guys. Long overdue. And I'm so excited. I am pumped. I think this new podcast is going to be very well received. You two do such a great job when you're articulating your outdoor experiences. And what I like about it, there's a really interesting dynamics going on here between you two guys. You're kind of opposite. You know, I don't want to say that this is what was the TV series? The Odd Couple, but it might very well be. So welcome to the program, guys, and welcome to the new podcast. We're super excited. Do you have any idea when you'll be debuting the first episode, or is that a Dean thing?
It's a Dean thing. I'm timing it right with when this is out. So.
Perfect.
So if you're hearing this, you can probably hear that.
You could probably already check them out. They'll be on the Outdoor Journal Radio Podcast Network, wherever you pick up your podcasts. We'll be, and do you know what day of the week you guys are going to be dropping?
That's probably a me thing too.
That's a you
Jamie,
thing too.
So their old show was on Saturdays, I believe, right, Jamie, in the mornings.
Saturday mornings.
I think we're going to keep that spot.
Okay, perfect.
Are
you guys as excited as we are?
I'm super pumped. You know, we've been talking about this for a while. We've started recording and we've confirmed some amazing guests, which we have to keep secret, but we are going to be covering, I think before it was kind of a Canadian show. Yeah. Now we brought in my American co-host and now our guests are going worldwide. We're going to be breaking new barriers. I know, different continents, different oceans, and hunting and fishing. So we're not just fishing, so we're going to be talking to some hunting guides as well.
I forgot to mention that. Very important. Ridr, tell us where you are right now.
So I'm talking to you guys from North Carolina. And as Jamie mentioned, we've already started, recording some of the shows, and we do have folks from all over the world coming in, interesting people from interesting places that are involved in the hunting world or the fishing world or even just the conservation world, and just interesting folks from neat spots. And I'll bring obviously some, perspective of being in the southeastern U.S., what it's like to be a sports person down here and compare it to what you guys are doing up in Canada.
By the way, I have some great memories from North Carolina. I had a very, very, very close and dear friend of mine, Durwood Hines. He's since passed away. What a wonderful part of the world you live in, man. I absolutely love it. As an outdoors person, as somebody who loves nature, somebody who loves hunting, fishing, it's the place to be. No question about it.
We're so lucky. It's the southeastern U.S. is a sports person's paradise, but North Carolina in particular, you've got the beach and the coast a couple hours to the east, and then you got these great mountains a couple hours to the west, and everything in between. And what's really cool about it is, we kind of that North Georgia, Western North Carolina, that area catches the very bottom of the Appalachian Mountains. And so we actually get some of those northern species, of course, that you guys are lucky enough to chase every day, whether it's smallies or muskie or rough grouse, whatever it is. Yeah. We actually get a little bit of that northern, sporting world, even though we're in the South. So it's a diverse and very interesting state.
How close are you to, I'm trying to think of, is it Haines City? Is there a city on the coast there called Haines City?
I don't know Haines City, but where I am in Charlotte, we're probably, 2 to 3 hours from Wilmington. If you get up early and, grab a cup of coffee and jump in the pickup, you can be casting at redfish in 2.5, 3 hours from Charlotte, which is really amazing. I remember you and Pete Ange. I remember you guys, did a couple shows maybe about the Roanoke River, and that's a couple hours up to the northeast. So it's we're kind of right in the middle of the state, so we got a little bit of access to everything.
We also did on the Outdoor Journal television program. We did an episode, and we just had the time of our lives. We went out on one of those shrimp trawlers.
Oh, wow.
One of those shrimp trawlers, and it's an all-night deal, right? So we went out, and we were the deckhands. That was the premise of the episode. So there was a captain, the first mate, and normally they would have 3 deckhands that handle all of the rigging, because they've got these. First, they got the outriggers to stabilize the boat, but they've got this huge hoist hydraulic hoist with a big arm, and they got to pull all these nets up with it and dump them on the culling table. So we were the cullers. We were for the night, all night long. That's what we did. We were culling because they were obviously targeting shrimp, but inadvertently you get. That's one of the problems with that type of fishery is that it doesn't discriminate. It catches whatever's in its way.
Oh,
right?
sure it does.
So we were, and Pete and I, being the conservationists that we are, we were like frantically releasing all these other animals that were in the boat. It was the most wonderful experience that I can remember. We collected 78 pounds of shrimp.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that was what we had in the morning to take to market. Because there was a market where they come in with the boats. The market's all there. By the time you get in at 6:30 in the morning, market's thriving. People are all excited to see what the boats bring in. And we brought in 78 pounds of shrimp. It was
that's amazing.
Incredible. Anyways.
That's a good haul. And you might remember when you guys were standing back there, if you looked out behind as you're pulling those nets in, you could look out behind the boat and you'd see all the dorsal fins.
Oh, I know.
Of the bottlenose dolphin, but also the big sharks.
It was fantastic.
And what's really cool, one of our secret, Jamie's not going to let me talk about it, but one of our guests that we're talking to is, there's a whole fishery now of fly fishing for sharks.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things guys do now is you follow behind, you're tucked right in behind those nets, casting in at those big spinner sharks. So it's quite an experience.
That's great. It's a great part of the world. Sorry to get off track, but I've had some fond memories of that whole area. All right. So first thing, Jamie, I think you need to tell the audience what happened. So we've got this great little show called the Tackle Box. What happened?
It was tough. Brad's got a new family member. Him and Laura brought their second child to the world, and life happened. So I think Brad went through his work and then fishing, and a lot on his plate. So it was tough to coordinate schedules. So unfortunately, we had to put the Tackle Box on hold, and we're trying to figure out the next plan. And I looked down at my bedside table and I saw Ridr's book there. I think we were talking on the phone, and I said, that's it. I know it.
How did you guys meet?
Tinder. No, just kidding.
I like long walks on the beach. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you like fly fishing? No. Ridr came up. He's got some friends in Ottawa, and we went out chasing muskies and smallmouth on one of the Ottawa River tributaries. And there was just something about Ridr. I told this on our first episode. He's just such a outdoorsy guy, and I think we laughed more than we casted, and we just had a wonderful day.
Tell you, the more I look at you two, the more it is the odd couple, though. I can just imagine you on a boat, by the way.
Who's the neat guy and who's the messy guy?
Obviously, you're Felix, right? Anyways, fantastic. I love the dynamics that's going on with this. It's going to be fantastic. Ridr, what do you do for a living? I know Jamie predominantly guides on the Ottawa River and other parts. We were talking before we went before we started recording this program. He's got some gigs going on in Quebec, and he's all over the place. What is that you do?
So my day job is commercial real estate, and I've been doing that for 30 years now, and I did it for a long time in Atlanta. And about 10 years ago, my family, we all moved to Charlotte, and that's where I've been for the last 10 years. And that's been a good business in the Southeast because a lot of those cities are growing, and it's been a good place for that. And I was lucky that early on in my career, I instead of taking clients, for example, golfing, as client entertainment, I would take them fly fishing. Yeah. And it did, it gave me a chance to go do things I might not have been able to afford as a new young guy in the business. I could tie it to work. And it exposed me to a lot of people in the fly fishing industry. And that over the years has obviously opened other doors for me.
And the author part came from?
Yeah, so I started, I'd say about 15 years ago, I started writing articles in a number of outdoor magazines. Even there was a Canadian magazine I did a couple articles for called Mountain Hunter. It's published out of Vancouver.
Yep.
And these were stories of trips that I have taken to some very remote places and had some interesting adventures. And I did the magazine thing kind of as a weekend hobby. Kind of like a weekend warrior, part-time thing. But the guides was my first book. That project really started as a passion. It's a collection of stories, as you know, and a collection of stories of guides and outfitters who live in these remote, really crazy remote places. And over time, I would collect their stories, not my stories, but their stories, and eventually assembled it together into a book. And so about 2 years ago, the guides got published, and I really made the transition from writing magazine articles to really focusing more on specific book publication.
It just connects, the outdoors, the adventures. A book is just, I shouldn't be saying that because I've made a living from television, obviously. Yep. But there's something about the written word in a nice book, well put together, well articulated, that allows the reader of that book to really immerse themselves in those adventures. Totally unlike television or video or podcasting. Something about reading it on that paper that transforms the person. It doesn't matter where they are. They could be, commuting on a train. It just takes them to that very spot that you're talking about. And I don't think that'll ever end. I think there's always going to be a place for a book, especially hardcover book, like a real good. I think they'll live forever.
It's funny. One of the things I had to learn was that the audience, when you write an article for a magazine, let's say Mountain Hunter out of Vancouver, the folks that are going to pick up that magazine and read it are people who are into,
of course,
mountain hunting, and who your audience is going to be for the most part when you're writing an article for a magazine. With a book, you have no idea. And if anything, I wanted folks who, obviously they were in the sporting world to enjoy it, but I really also was hoping to connect with people that weren't necessarily in the fishing world or weren't necessarily, in the hunting world, but just liked a good story. And so that was kind of a new experience for me, really trying to apply the writing to a much broader audience. And that's, and it's been well received that way. I love it. I get those comments that you're saying, from folks who are fishermen and hunters, as well as non-fishing and hunting people.
Yeah. You're not doing any publishing these days, Jamie?
I've written for Outdoor Canada too, so that is one thing we have in common. Ryder and I. I've written for Kayak Angler, a couple other magazines, and I got a couple little things on the go, but other projects. So I remember when I was fishing with Ryder for the first time. As guides between fish, you have to entertain, right? You got 8, 9, 10 hours on the water. So I was telling a story and I turned around and Ryder's typing away in his.
No, you were not.
No, I'm kidding. He told me, I told the story.
Well, what sucks is I would bring my typewriter. You think I'd have a laptop now, but that 20-pound typewriter on a fishing boat, that's a little cumbersome.
But so many good stories in that book. And I think the whole premise of our podcast is, if you've worked in the outdoors for long enough, whether it be as a hunter or an angler, you have stories. There's always funny things that happen and crazy things and good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah, and it's such an important part of that whole outing. Whether it's a guide-client relationship, whether it's a couple of buddies, a couple, a husband and wife, father, child, whatever that combo is, it's all part of the outing. Is sharing of these stories. And of course, obviously you're creating your own stories while you're sharing them. That's probably as important, if not even more so. Now, you were saying, you were teasing us a little bit. I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire, but you were saying that you're going to have some pretty interesting guests or high profile guests, or I don't remember how you worded it, but is there anything that you can share with us in that area? In other words, who are you targeting as people to bring on as guests on this show?
I think people that have great stories and a good passion for the outdoors. So we've spoken to tuna hunters.
Perfect.
We spoke down. We got a show on invasive pythons in the Everglades, and as well as some other Everglade action, and then sharks. A lot of things that people want to listen to. So we might even broaden out our audience from people who might not even be hunters and anglers, but somebody wants to hear about pythons or sharks or some of the craziest species that are out there.
A real departure from the previous podcast, which was predominantly athletes and sports celebrities. So you guys are going for what I would consider the meat and potato type of a guest, like the outdoor users, adventurers, that kind of thing. I think it's wonderful. It's fantastic.
Well, and Jamie, he went from having a real athlete as his co-host to a weekend potato chip watching the football game kind of guy. So
exactly.
He had to make that departure as well.
We got something else in common: outdoor riding and potato chips. I'm in.
You both love them, huh? I'm with you. Are you guys going to spend any time together over the course of this year sharing a boat?
I think
hopefully, July maybe. Hey, Jamie?
Yeah, and I'm working on a southern trip as well. So it would be cool to do a home and home, and then we can get together live and do some get-togethers. Get a local restaurant that we might be able to do a breakfast, so people can come and maybe get some books and hear some stories.
Yeah,
that would be outstanding to do that, a home and home kind of thing. That would be, especially if you go to the Roanoke. Is this still cranking out striper after striper?
And what's crazy about this year is the size of the stripers are 20% bigger than we've had in years. The Roanoke, it's incredible. I mean, those 10 pound, 5, 6, 10 pound stripers that you and Pete were catching, those fish this year, for whatever reason, are 10 to 15 pounds, 10 to 20 pounds. And who knows what happens with the stripers each year? It's such a crazy random thing. But one of our guests we've been talking to is one of the striper guides over there. And pictures I'm seeing, you wouldn't believe the size that are coming in this year's run. Crazy. Yeah,
that's great. That's great because there was a period of time there, just pre-pandemic, where I was talking to folks down there, and there was some concern about the striper runs. The water levels were low. There was all kinds of theories as to why, but it seemed like for a couple of years and ironically, during that same time when both North and South Carolina and probably all up the eastern seaboard were experiencing low numbers of stripers, up here in Canada on our Atlantic coast, man, they just blossomed. It created a whole new industry because it almost seemed like those fish had moved north. And there was speculation that, global warming and temperature change and all that stuff had driven those fish farther up the coast into their rivers. In other words, they were moving from their traditional spawning areas and coming up north. But I'm thrilled to death to hear that your fishery down there is still doing well and getting better by the sounds of it. Fantastic.
Yeah, this year for sure. And it's funny you say that because the last couple of years, the news down here has been negative, where it's been positive for you guys. And I'd say that's been the case from Connecticut all the way down through the East Coast, where the stripers and numbers are down. The Roanoke, as you know, is a big shad run, and the shad run's always good in the Roanoke. But it's definitely positive to see not only the numbers, but some size this year. So we'll see where that goes.
Fantastic. Well, there you go, Jamie. That's where you're going to do part 2.
I think we might need an away now. Ryder's been hiding out about these big stripers. He just said they're regular size. Now that I know they're double.
Yeah.
Have you guys caught stripers on the fly? Either one of you?
Oh, many.
I've never caught a striper.
You've never caught a striper?
It's on my list.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We can fix that for you, Jamie.
Perfect. Not much better, I'll tell you. But I only ask you that question because I can't even imagine 10 or 12, never mind 30 and 35, 40, but a 10 or 12 pound striper on the fly, I I can't even imagine that.
Oh yeah, it's like hooking into a skidoo. I mean, you just it's pure muscle. It's like those little Albie tuna on fly. You know, it's just pure muscle. Great fun.
That's fantastic.
Good use of the Canadian lingo, eh? Dropping a skidoo reference on us.
I was trying. I looked for my Rush T-shirt. I pulled out one of the old concert T-shirts, and it was 3 sizes too small. So
they shrink.
I got to get a new one. They do shrink.
With the money you spend on that kind of stuff, you would think the damn thing would last 2 or 3 years before it starts shrinking, right?
I agree.
I have the same problem. I don't understand it.
Can't figure it out.
Yeah. I guess you get what you pay for, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
We interrupt this program to bring you the much-anticipated bonus code for the latest Fishing Canada giveaways. This week's code is YURT. That's Y-U-R-T, all capital letters, YURT. Just type that in the bonus code section of the contest and receive 100 free entries towards all our current giveaways. For those who haven't entered yet, what the heck are you waiting for? Head on over to fishingcanada.com while you listen to the rest of this episode. Click contests and sign up for all the latest Fishing Canada giveaways. And now, back to the show. Well, this is exciting, guys. I can't wait to get you right into the fold with our other podcasters. They're all doing really well. Jamie, you've met some of them. Ridr, that'll be your next thing. Is getting together with all of the boys and mucking it up. We'll get you guys up for our annual sportsman show outing each year. So that's gonna be great, man. I am super pumped. Quickly tell folks where Jamie, where they can reach out to you if anybody's looking to get some expertise, especially on the Ottawa River and area. I'd love to say especially for gar pike, but I know you do more than just that. But to me, you'll always be the gar pike guy. Because that's
it's because I smell so good. No, you can get a hold of me, risingsuncharters.ca. That's my website. We have a new Untamed Pursuits Instagram page too. So we got 100 new followers on our first day. So I don't know what happened, but if you have any questions for the show, feel free to give us a follow and drop us a DM. We're going to be, we already got a couple of questions come through. So we might have to do a Q&A show sooner than later.
Nice. Before I let you go, though, let's just quickly talk about that Ottawa River fishery. In particular, gar pike, but muskie and all the rest of the species that you chase up there. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's we have a unique fishery. There's so many different species of fish, and basically starting from early May right till it freezes up, there's always something to catch. So whether you want to get chase some gars either on flyer and spinning gear in the shallows or go chase muskies. Last year was a banner year for walleyes. We caught so many big walleyes, and I can't tell you how shallow 2 feet or under, but we had a lot of those. We lost a bunch of trips due to the smoke from the north.
Yeah,
right.
But
including our trip, you and our trip last year, and we got smoked out.
But the smoke, I'm probably going to pay for it later. But I was the only one out there, and the walleyes were up shallow and feeding like crazy. It kind of mimicked the end of the day all day. So the witching hour was all day. I'm sure I'll be coughing up something in a few years from now, but I got to tell you, it was worth it.
That's unusual, though, isn't it? The Ottawa River, somebody talking about walleye, is it not? Up until now, I don't think I've ever heard anybody underline walleye on the Ottawa River. It's just not been. It's usually bass, obviously muskie, gar pike, carp as well.
Carp, and we got some nice northern pike as well. So, and even I do a lot of trips with families. Somebody wants to go wet a line, we'll go jig for some walleyes or bass, and then catfish and moon eyes and
Oh, so there's a whole bunch of stuff up there. I don't even know about that stuff.
I hooked a rainbow right off in the Nepean 2 years ago, and I guess they do a winter thing. They had a net, and a couple of rainbows got out, so I hooked the rainbow, and I was blown away. But you never know what you're going to catch in the Ottawa. But we do have some trophy fisheries. Gar, muskie are some of the biggest in the world.
And so you make the time all summer long to take guests out. Is there a particular time that you're available? Is it all summer? They can just hook up with you, give you.
I got a couple of dates left. I'm starting as soon as it gets warm out, the phone starts ringing. So the phone's been ringing, but I could always squeeze some folks in. I don't like sleeping, and I do fish on my days off too. So
I know that for a fact. But we were talking before we started taping today. We were talking about how difficult, guiding. People don't realize just how difficult being a guide, a good guide, by the way. There's guides and then there's guides. Let's be perfectly honest about it. And I would say 1 out of maybe 50, I would consider to be a good guide, because guiding is a very, very, very special pursuit. And people don't understand that. And it pisses me off sometimes. We go to a lot of lodges and I know a lot of people that are operators, owners of resorts and that kind of thing. And it kind of pisses me off that the qualifications for guiding is so low. And I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but, and I've worked with you, Jamie, so I'm putting you obviously in that area where I think a person needs to be a guide. But it seems like there's a shortage of good guides. Am I right or am I wrong? It seems like everywhere you go, there's those 10 non-qualified and maybe one good solid guide. And it's not just about, by the way, I want to clarify that. This is not about fish catching abilities. That's not what a guide is. A guide is a guide, right? So a guide, it's like it's like any other pursuit, whether you're climbing a mountain with a guide, or whether you're floating a river in the Amazon with a guide. A guide is supposed to guide you to your experience and make that experience the most wonderful thing, so that you talk about it for the rest of your life. I find that that area of guiding is kind of gone by the wayside, and I think it's because of underqualifications. I mean, what makes, in your opinion, Jamie, I'll speak to you first, what is the most important part about guiding, in your opinion?
I think listening, and talking to the guests beforehand and try to figure out their expectations. I always want to catch big muskies, but I've learned some people are happy with catching 50 bluegills instead, or going for crappie, or catching a few bass or a pike. So if you can figure out what's going to make their day great, not your day, I think that's the first thing. And then trying to listen, and if you might have somebody that, hey, I might need to go to the wash, or I might, I need to drink a lot of water, or just try to have everything that you might need for your day. And listen. I think listening's key. You've
got to take something away from a guide. I know, Ridr, you've had guides all over the world, both in fishing and hunting. I think every experience, you have to take something home that was special, unique to that guide, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. You hit it right on the head, Ange. It's hunting and fishing. It's not catching and shooting. In other words, the guide, the guide is there to, give you their best, and to take you to an environment, whether that's a part of a river system, or maybe an area with great genetics for whitetail, or whatever it is, but take you to a place where you have a chance to go after whatever it is you're pursuing. But that's about, that's what their job is to do, is to put you in those positions. But they're not there to guarantee you catching a fish, and they're sure not there to guarantee you're going to go shoot a whitetail. And for me, the parts of those days that I love and that I bring home a lot of times have nothing to do with catching a fish or shooting a deer. It's all those other things. Heck, Jimmy and I happen to hit it off going after a muskie, and I've yet to land my first muskie on fly, but man, we had an awesome day, and we'll keep doing it. In other words, it'll be a journey that Jamie and I do together. And it's about so much more than just catching that fish. So for me, a good guide is somebody that knows the environment, respects it, and understands it, so you can learn about these places you go. You're not just there to catch a fish.
I've got a rule, and it's a pet peeve of mine. And Dean was a guide when he was younger as well. And him and I have talked about this on several occasions. In my world, and let's talk about fishing for just a moment. A guide does not touch a rod. A guide does not touch a rod. There's no reason. I can't think of one possible reason, except maybe if you're marooned or stranded and you need sustenance and the client just does not have the wherewithal to figure out what it takes to get a fish, then maybe the guide picks up a rod. But under any other circumstance, to me, guide doesn't even bring a rod out. That's my world. That's what is in my head. And whenever I work with folks, I bring folks out on a boat, or whether we don't do any guiding, but a lot of times we'll auction off our services for a good cause, and so we take people out for the day, or in a couple of weeks, we're taking 4 guys up near Lac Seul in Northern Ontario for the experience of a lifetime. I don't pick up a rod. What in the world what business do I have picking up a rod? The experience is theirs. It's not mine.
I think another thing, I never put down other guides too. I've gone on a lot of guided trips as well. And the last thing you want to hear about is a guide bad-mouthing all the competition and talk about how great they are. Like, if you've been guiding for a while, you're doing something right. And I'd rather just have a positive environment than listen to somebody who's complaining about everybody else, right? So
it just behooves. I've seen, because of the amount of places that we've been, I've seen guides outmuscle their client for the front of the boat. Yeah, I've seen guides, I've witnessed guides who are on the back with the trolling motor in hand and the fish finder sonar and I've seen them position their boat over top of the fish, and the guest is out fishing empty water, and he's back here just having a whale of a time. Man, I just want to scream when I see that. I want to scream. But anyways, enough of that. I'm way off the subject. Listen, guys, we're extremely excited. Tell folks again, you're dropping on Saturdays, apparently. New programs every Saturday. The name of the program?
Untamed Pursuits on the Outdoor Journal Radio Podcast Network. We're super pumped to be with you guys and spreading the good word and talking the outdoors and sharing some stories with some amazing folks throughout the world. Yeah.
Welcome aboard, gentlemen. It's going to be a blast, I'll guarantee you.
Can't wait. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Take care, gentlemen. There you go, Jamie and Ridr. It's going to be exciting. I can hardly wait for this thing to hit. Dean, you said it's going to be hitting right when this show is up, right?
Yeah, if you're hearing this, you can probably hear that. We're going to line them up.
Oh, fantastic. That are it. I want to thank everybody for joining us once again. My co-host will be back on the next show. Apparently, he's had enough days off fishing now. He's promised me he's going to stay on track. Don't forget fishingcanada.com, the gateway to your next fishing adventure, or the portal, whichever you like. Make sure you go there, go often. Contests going on daily. Don't miss out. Get all the bonus entries that you can get. Somebody's got to win the stuff, folks. So, and as you see, somebody is winning it. So on behalf of the entire team, Vova behind the camera, we've got Dean on the board once again. I'm Angelo Viola. Catch you next time.